rank the albums. Starting out with a personal Dresch, more bands should be teams. This album is a sprint. It starts out immediately sure of its identity, and you will be too. It's a pop-oriented punk that's less The Offspring and more Fugazi, but more than that, it's them. There's an absolute musical vigor to it in how it doesn't necessarily follow all the rules of 4/4 D-beat punk. No, it's got its own path, not separatist, but recognizing that it's been separated and taking some pride in that. The music follows their passion. They show that romance is punk when it's passion, when it resists oppression. This is a very impressive debut from a team who've come together with determination and have expressed it very well. The music is loud and pummeling, but the vocals are quiet without being shy. They're just intimate. They reward the concentration it takes to make them out, and then if you don't even bother concentrating, it's still rewarding music. All that really holds this one down is brevity. It's 10 songs in their discipline, which makes it less than 25 minutes total. But it doesn't need for any more of that. It's exhilarating. It's a blast. How do you follow that up? How do you assess a follow-up without comparative adjectives that make this one seem worse? Yeah, this is a full length that's actually full length, and what it does do better is there's more of a unified sense of purpose. They've definitely found their audience now. There's more confidence in the delivery, it's even more blatant. When music is just as good, I've often come down to duration in how I rank it. I don't actually have to worry about that here because it's not just as good. This lacks the jags of their debut album, but maybe if it were Jaggedarian, it would just be more of the same and I'd punish it for that. But with them smoothed out into a more regular kind of music, there's just less that's absolutely essential to it. And yet, where else could they have gone on a second album? It's a respectable second move, even if that has to be down. This is a band, and maybe two bands, that proves inarguably how the personal is political. From the perspective of being so directly excluded, when they express such intimacy, it's an invite to feel included in the new community they've constructed. And the invite's open to anyone else who's been excluded, as long as you're not doing the exclusion yourself. This kind of underground embrace resonates strongly with zine culture, with queer culture of the 90s, and you can access the sound and the grit of that in Team Dresch. If we're comparing them to Riot Girl, it's a few years later, and maybe the main fire has gone out, but these are musicians who understood the best sides of that and formed a band to express it. Being late to the wave meant they could optimize it. They didn't have the sludgiest parts. They have riffs that will last better. There's a more recent compilation of the Dresch Lucy tracks that does make it album length. Let's have a look at that. Really, there's barely anything here that matches up. I consider it a document more than a listen. Maybe I wasn't in the right place at the right time. Song for Anne Bannon is really good, but takes about as long to listen to as for me to tell you that. Dresch herself had this project, which barely any content, barely any audience. It goes by so fast that I'm not going to rank it, but I'm going to give it the honorable mention it deserves. Blistering stuff. Then another band with two members in common, that's grounds for inclusion, right? And yes, say that name out loud and enjoy it if you want, but the content is nowhere near as crass. Restarting into a far more standard musical discipline, the Butchies end up a bit less strident, but more accessible, but only a bit. There's still the same spirit here. I think these first two are held back a bit by some overbearing properties that I just can't get used to. The first one's too musically simple to me, too bass moving along with the guitar, and then the second one is just too sleepy, something that we might later file as dream pop. I don't know, I listen to music when I'm awake, but there's better stuff to come, such as this one. Now there's less on it, but let's try not to punish them for that, because these 9 tracks really deliver on the band's promise. This would have been a respectable third Dresch, it isn't. It's a respectable third Butchies. They're now using all of their strengths. They're now very welcome in the new millennium, and they welcome you there too. Butchies starting out in a plainer indie rock band discipline, honestly not that punk. I think they get the adjective punk as a holdover from the previous band, and maybe just a reference to the brevity of the songs. But with that, we can often expect an obnoxiousness that comes very obviously in a lot of pop punk, and quite riotously in Riot Girl. I think I'm coming to a gendered comment. I've noticed that pop punk bands with female vocalists often start out with a lot less confidence than the male ones. And you could describe early Butchies that way, but I think you'd be missing something if you do. I mean, confidence can often be a bad thing among men, but here that hush isn't someone learning to be a melodic singer, it's inviting you closer. It's what I said about vocals on the first Team Dresch album. It's not subtlety because it's explicit, but it's asking the listener to concentrate and then rewarding that. Then the most explicitly accessible sound, and don't interpret that as a bad thing. I know my booklet is a bit shattered. They always had this sunny pop in them, and it's powerful to still be just as queer as ever, and to make delicious candy out of it. British listeners, guess what shit landfill indie single from a misogynist band has the same chorus refrain as one of the most explicitly lesbian bands? Yeah, I doubt there's a legal case in there, as there's no argument that Scouting for Girls have ever listened to a woman. But here's an optimized Butchies, and what they've been working towards on those first three. It's just a shame that that's the last of it, because they're really on great form again. This is among Dresch quality, but also hard to compare. But I am gonna try and compare. Maybe like that, and then the compilation one there.